At the very end, it seemed like he was dragging his foot. So how it should be. Fuck, our fucking left hand. Low. That's where he's literally looking at that back pole. Pop up. Last second. Looking at that pole.
Why do you fucking jump?
It's power from the back foot.
So you have to like do a spin and jump.
You're pushing up so hard.
Why is your pee-pee out?
Just check this out. So all your torque and your torsion is right here. So and then.
Fuck. Sorry. Come on, boy. You like ripped through?
Going slow, it should come like you're sprinting. I'm just saying it for this one too. So here, your feet are both pointing towards the back half, whoever's standing literally in the back of the fence, and they bring it up. One thing he was messing up on was eye contact. Kind of seemed like he was just here. Had he actually kept that stiff neck and then upper posture, it would follow through. Stiff neck, upper posture. If you're not pushing off your back foot, then you're not going to get the height, and also it's, for the most part, it's just going to stay flat and horizontal to the ground, and it's just going to lose all momentum. So here, so from the 180 center, just as I said, there should be a beat. If yours doesn't have it, just pretend from the center of the circle that you're trying to go towards the left line that goes for the out of bounds, and then just follow that. So you're still down. For the first couple of times, just practice. Doesn't matter if you go outside, but just get used to that form, staying low. So come down. Just work on your form, and then for the spin move, you're gonna have to draw. If you have chalk, draw number 7. So this will be the top half of the 7, and it's just a straightaway to where it leads to the out of bound mark. So yours would be, since you're left, it would start from the top left of the circle to here, and then it would end up going that way out. That's going to be your guideline on where you should be at. Anytime you go outside of that line, for the most part, you're losing anywhere from a foot to 3 feet on your throw. So I'm trying to go, I'll do right hand, then I'll do left. So get your torsion right. Straight down the line. And see, I'm already too high. So for you want to make sure you get your footing right. Make sure there's no rocks or anything in your foot or your bottom of your shoe. Make sure you're comfortable. Get used to it. And if you feel like you're too high or too low, start over. Woo. So key point is stay low up until you're about here and come up come low again, and then that's when you push out. So if you're using the broomstick, it's gonna be here. Weird, huh?
Like a ballerina.
Honestly, it is. Like you.
Like a little angel ballerina.
But my suggestion is don't do the spin until you're comfortable using a straightaway portion. So as I said, that figure 7 that you're gonna draw or imagine in your head. So if I look down this line here, it'll go all the way and it'll follow when you're at a game or a tournament, whatever. It'll have that left line for out of bounds. So just make sure your toes and your foot, everything aligns to that line that's going to be all the way out. So from here, actually, it's pretending. You're going to stop right here. Hit that center mark. Spin it around. Kind of hard going slow motion. Spin it around, back down, pop out. You're gonna pop with your left. You're gonna pop with your left, I believe. So going back to it, you're low here, and you're pushing off your left. So at this point, it should be here. You should be looking at the bottom of your palm through the whole throw. And your discus in the first place is going to be opposite of your left or your right. So how you would be is like this. No, excuse me. Yeah, it would be downwards. And then regardless, when you have the discus, you don't want to grasp it all the way. What you're going to want to do actually before the throw, make sure there's no dirt on your hands. And what I did just to get that extra grip, just get that. You'll feel the grip. If you don't do that, it'll slide immediately. And then towards your end of your throw, it can slip out a little bit too early. You'll feel this a lot. Had you licked it, it would grip on exactly where you had it from the start. And you're gonna wanna grip it literally right here with your fingertips. You'll feel the curve right there. Don't manhandle the discus. Give it some slack, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna create enough kind of momentum within your throw that at the last second, it's just gonna roll off. Literally, that's how it should be, is rolling off your fingers. Had you been gripping it, your back half is gonna push it out. So it'll, if anything, it'll wobble. That's where you get the wobbling throw. If you're flat throughout the whole thing, some people have your finger pointed. I prefer mine to have mine just my mid fingertip right here. Reason being is because when you let go of it, you can follow through and point to where you want it to throw. It's kind of like a baseball. So with that being said, so you're here at the top half of the figure 7, looking straight onto your left-handed. So it would be, you're going to be looking on the right line, the out of bounds line. So you're here. Pushing off your right, bouncing onto your left, and your left foot should be planted straight along with the line as well. Just swinging around and here, and then once your feet get perfectly aligned with that right out of bounds, that's when you push with your rear. I mean, you gotta think about when you're doing squats, but with lunges or any kind of lunges, explosion with your left, explosion with your right. That's all you're doing. if you don't have any type of explosion and you're just relying on momentum, you're not going to get your height and you're not going to get a good enough throw. If you're relying more on muscle, yeah, it will go far. Anybody that has muscle can throw really far. But you're going to see the dude that is half your size, hits the gym once a month, and he's throwing as good, if not better than you are, but his form is immaculate. That being said, you really just have to run through and remember where your feet is at. If you have to, stop at any time in the middle of your throw. Don't even plan on throwing. At this point, you can grasp it. So usually in your practice, you're throwing over and over and over and over, and you're playing fetch with yourself. And the only thing you're focusing on is trying to get that extra foot or two. And you're thinking about, oh, my PR is 108. Don't worry about that. Worry about your form. Grasp it firmly. Go through your form. And then if you have to, stop. See where you landed. As of now, I didn't land in the center. So, I mean, that can deduct anywhere from 5 to 15 feet. So I'm low here. At your point, because you're left-handed, as I said, you don't want to look all the way back at the top mass of that hole. Shit, I'm still throwing right-handed. But just capitalize on it. Key points. And where you were messing up at was...
Does your foot have to stay inside the circle?
Your foot has to stay inside the circle at all times.
When you're turning, your foot's going out?
Yeah, I'm going for key points.
Stop it.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to keep on recording?
No, I got that.
We're already 10 minutes on this one.
Okay. So I don't, just looking at this picture first. I don't know if you can see that. Anyways. Yeah. You don't know that you're doing it until you actually record yourself. Look back on your own recording, and you'll see that, as I said, the discus should always be horizontal with the earth, with the ground. So what I've seen you do a lot, you're losing a lot of momentum because you're swinging it, and your discus is flat. As I said, make sure it's horizontal with the ground at all times. The only time it should move a little bit is when you're getting a pattern. I mean, when you're going through the form. So it's here, down, and then upwards, diagonal. So your discus here. So it's at a downward angle, picking up momentum, upwards angle, step, downwards angle, upwards angle. Let's see. Your footwork, you're always on your toes. Once you start the sliding around, always on your toes. At the end of the day, you should, or the end of your throw or a couple of throws, you should feel this being warm and this being cool. Your shoes actually, by the end of the month, you should have little to no grip more towards the front half of your foot, top half of your foot. So, yeah, another thing is that you were here, you were forward a lot. You weren't down. It should be down, like literally a 90 degree, as much as possible. At no point you should not be leaning forward at all. Chest and your posture should be up at all times. The whole
Boy, get over here.
the whole elbow the midget, slap the giant. Where that comes in, you're elbowing right here at the center of the circle. You should be elbowing. Elbow, slap the giant. This ergo giant, somewhat tall. So elbow the midget down here, slap the midget at the end of your throw.
Giant.
Slap the giant at the end of your throw. Look back at your recording. You'll see that what your common error was your left foot. So when you're in a throw, you're coming here, a lot of times your foot would just go wherever your hip is forcing it to. Meaning, this is where it was at. It was right here. It was sloppy. It was up in the air. That just shows that you weren't pushing off. I mean, in all honesty, when you come into a standing throw, you're here. Oh yeah. Be able to bolt off. So you're picking up your knee, if anything, you're not picking up the back of your foot. So with that explosion, pretend someone that's running off of a block. What you're not gonna see when someone runs off a block is this. Use that explosion, make sure you're following through. For training purposes, as I said, don't worry about going out of the circle. Another thing is you have a limp wrist. As I said, make sure it's parallel. The whole thing is parallel the whole time. That you have a stiff arm and it's at your fingertips. What I seen was through your dipping, so did your hands. It was kind of floating and flustering. An inch of a divot is really going to have it slope up, because at the last second you're going to flick your wrist. You don't want to flick it when it's at a downward slope or an upward slope. Upward slope, it's going to come straight down. Downward slope, it's going to, your discus is going to end up going like that, and it's going to drop down. You want to keep it straight, mainly because of the fact that wherever your hand is leading up, so too does your discus, and it's going to be flat. At the last second, you got to make sure that your foot touches the toe board. If not, I mean that's for a shot put. But you're thrown in a shot put range. So if that's how your school is, then just make sure that when your toe touches the floorboard, try to have it touch just so, if not an inch backwards, inch or two. And then, as I said, follow through and explode. And then keep your arms straight. That's what the whole broomstick is for. When you have the broomstick, it's going to force your mind to basically have muscle memory. And as so, with muscle memory, you're going to keep on formation. You have sloppy form, you're not going to get anywhere far. You're relying on muscles, and at the end of the day, you're going to throw out your arm, you're going to feel it in your elbow, you're going to feel it in your wrist. And I said at the last second, there's another picture that I did a still that I sent it to you. You're here. Your back is contortion, awkwardly. As I said, a runner coming off the block, he's going to explode forward. So, that being said, from a standing throw, you should be at the same thing at a spin movement. That's just the last step. You don't want it to come here. You want your body to be straight and coming forward. The difference being, switch with as your lead foot is your right and your power, I believe, is your left, meaning that you're left-handed. Power off with your left, switch, and then land on your left. So, this is going to be the end of the circle. You are going with your left. There. The difference between yours was this. And I mean, had you followed through, this is what it would have been like. literally bounce off, explode, and then pop up. From a spin, from a stand, from 180 to a basic 90 throw. Literally pop off. Make sure use that broomstick. Don't throw. For your first couple throws, your warm up before a game, or a tournament, whatever, or practice, use the broomstick. When someone else is throwing, grab that broomstick, get behind the gate, just keep doing this. Do it about 5-6 times. Work on your form. If you have to, look down. See where your footage is at. Just looking at the way you release the discus, as I said, your hand was limp, and when you release the discus, it was limp too as well. Your elbow's contortion here, so this is where you finished at. The difference is this. All that is momentum you just lost. If you are focusing on that saying of elbow the giant, elbow the midget, slap the giant, good. But don't forget to release correctively. Start with the broomstick, end with the broomstick. A lot of it is the backward leaning, chest work out, everything posture good, and then use so much force that all your momentum is forward. If at any point that you're leaning backwards or you feel like you're falling back, that just shows that your momentum isn't corrected. Excuse me. Your momentum isn't great enough, and your footwork is most likely 90% of the reason. Your feet is gonna allow your upper body to go where it needs to go. Had you have the right footwork, everything would follow through perfectly. The only thing you need to rely on besides footwork is your posture and being your arms. As I said, focus on an object. If you have to, go put something out there, something that is at least a foot tall, in the center of being that there's the left and the right line. Put something out there in the center, or focus on something out there in the center. A mountain, a house, a street light, anything like that, a fence. Focus on that throughout the whole entire turn. So being that you can't see what I'm looking at, there's a field just behind. I'm actually at Cajon. If you remember where the Discus is at Cajon, there's the track just behind. So there's the lights for the track field. So I'm looking at one of the major lights. I'm focusing on it the whole time. If you feel that you cannot balance enough to look at that pole, then focus on something that's in a dead center throughout the end of the distance. Focusing on the light, looking at the light, footwork is off, looking at the light, follow through, and then aim, point at the light. Just as you would a throw. Football, baseball, it's gonna go wherever you're looking at. Difference is here. You don't know where you're throwing, if your timing is off. Your mind will naturally know when to release the ball if you know where you want it to go. And you can see where you want it to go. Just the same as a discus. On a standing throw, I'm looking directly at the camera. There. Difference being, if you look at someone else's throw, you'll see that their timing is off. The way that they handle and release the discus will be off, in whatever way they look. Right now, I'm going to look 40 degrees off to the left. I'm hoping that my hand will know when to let go. But from this point, my hand is here. Be constantly looking at your discus. Look at your discus, look at something at a distance, and keep in mind that when you are letting go, kind of snap your finger. Let that spin off. Don't come down with it. It's literally a spin. And the reason why you want to do that is because when you have a firm grasp, never have that in the first place, most of the time you're going to end up pinching the last little bit of the circle and it's going to wobble out. If you have it and then you snap it, it'll have more of a momentum in the spin itself. The idea of having it on your fingers, if you really want to capitalize on it, is it's gaining so much momentum and it's relying on that to finish through at the last second. Just to capitalize on your standing throw, make sure to have enough torsion built up in your leg work, so your left. Remember, fall through with it 2 or 3 times. Right here. Pop. Explode. And fall through with it. So go through with it. So I'll just go through it one time. If you want to click this over and over and over, I'll do it twice. Full spin throw. One last time. I'm not achieving perfection. It's been a couple years. Good luck.